Good evening. This is Evangelist Gay. I am coming to you from my YouTube channel, Evangelist Marilyn Gay. I want you to subscribe to me and press the bell, so you get my notifications. And even if you don't press the bell, just check me out every once in a while, see what I'm talking about. I wanted to have a conversation before I went to bed, and I am filming this late, and I am in pajamas. So, forgive that. I know it's not quite a bit of light in here, but I wanted to have a discussion again about Will and Jada and August. And I had a great opportunity to be with some friend associates, getting my hair done today. And so we had some hairdresser conversation like they have at the barbershop for men. You know, the women have hairdresser conversation too. So it is um, it is important to see all sides to a story and see all sides to things. And I have had like 4 different segments on Jada and Will, maybe 3 at the most. This will be my last segment because I'm going to cover something that I don't think anyone thought about. The first reaction is always a lot of times what we go to. Whatever we see first on the surface, we don't dig deep. And then we start in our opinions taking sides and picking, who we think was hurt the most, who we think was casual, who we think was devoted and felt the need to have some conversation and some words. So that was everybody's surface thinking, including me. Hands up. I look. I'm under rest because I was one of those persons, and I did have a conversation about August Alcina and him feeling the need to do what he did at the time that was appropriate when he put his album out. And I didn't look deep at that. I talked about entanglements with Jada, like everybody is catching on to the word entanglements because on the surface, that's the first thing that we saw. And I didn't dig deep into that. And then the expression on Will's face of his disappointment and his hurt, I didn't dig deep into that. And I also never discussed who I thought decided to have the red table conversation. Well, here's my point. And I did get some ideas from a friend of mine, Mimi. And hi, Mimi, if you're subscribed and you see this on my YouTube channel, you really brought about some points that I want to cover. One of them before I get off this segment. But first, let me get a little light. I hate the big bright up light because it's late, guys. It is really late. I have been up late. So I've had a lot that I've had to do before going to bed. And I tell you, I'm getting ready to go to bed now. Take these earplugs out of my ear. Yeah. I sleep with my earrings a lot. And these are some of my favorite earrings. But anyway, let me just say, I'm going to talk about Jada last. Okay, but first let me talk about August Alcina and his point of view. On the surface, I did look and say, well, you know what? He's a grown-ass man, and he made those decisions, and he got hurt like anybody else does that dives into a relationship and it doesn't work out. So these are experiences that he's going to have, that we all have going through life when we're in our 20s, 30s, whatever, 40s, whatever the case may be. And I didn't dig deep into that. But with August, I just said that he's going straight to the bank and he's all right. And I also said that August started leaking out that information, and that wasn't a good idea for him to do that because it's personal, private information. But I didn't dig deep. And let me dig deep into his age. First of all, with his age, he wanted someone to know that he cared about Jada, and he had very serious feelings about her, and he was keeping it such a secret because he was trying to keep probably a commitment to their relationship being private. And I'm going to call it an entanglement, not a relationship, because it was an entanglement. And nobody said that, even myself. I said that was an entanglement. That was just something that she was using because she didn't want to admit the whole thing. But let's get to that last. Okay, digging deep with August Alcina. Um, in the interview with Angela Yee, he seemed as if he was trying to be really deep in thought. And being in his 20s and being a musician, you know, musicians are like that. They're pretty deep. I wouldn't be surprised if he was a Pisces. I don't know what he is, but um, they get pretty deep. We get pretty deep with our words, you know, when we are artists. Um, I'm not a singer artist, but I'm an entrepreneur, and I have a lot of thoughts and images and things that, you know, I put together. And sometimes it takes a long time for those thoughts to come together. And that's the kind of thing that August Alsina seemed like he was doing. It seemed like he was using Angela Yee for a therapy session, and doing it in front of the world. And he felt like it was very important to do it. So I can't say that he was just a grown ass man and that was just a decision he made and he just can handle it, because no, he was in his 20s and he was very shook up, and that's the depth of it. And that was to me his way of getting over the pain, over the hurdle, over the hump, and into the newness that he wants to go into. And that was his way of letting go of the past to get into the present and shoot toward the future. And before you can go on to the future, sometimes you have to say it out loud. You got to let it go. Say, I'm done with this. This is no more. This is something that happened, and now I am doing this. And that helps a person in progression. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist, but I believe that's why he did it at the time he did it. It wasn't just for a check, because he was kind of discreet in the way that he did it. And I can give him some claps for that. So on the surface, August Alsina, I did make some immediate judgments like everybody else, but digging deep, I see a little more to it than that. And you got into a situation that was not a very probable situation. It's the same thing that happens when a woman messes with a married man, and she thinks that that married man may one day leave his wife. And it can go from 1 year to 2 years to 4 years to 8 years. And it can even go to death. And I dealt with that with my mother and father. My mother was married, and my father had a separate relationship. When I was born, I have a younger sister that was born, and her and my brother that was with another mom are around the same age, born in the same year. And after that secession, he had 3 more children, and she still kept the relationship, whether he was married or not. Okay, so I have been through that, and but I did have a father that showed me that he was a provider and a father regardless of the situation. So we can't judge people for their situations and how they get entangled in certain things, because we are humans. We have feelings, and they have a saying, you can't help who you love. You can help who you love, but sometimes when you don't help who you love, you end up loving the one you're not going to be with permanently. And it is something that happens. Okay, so now let's get to Will Smith. Will. Will, in the last 2 episodes, on the surface, I saw a man that seemed as if he wasn't quite tight. Like, even in his haircut, I just got to admit it, his haircut and his grooming, I did judge the outward appearance. He talked about being a father, and he talked about some of the mistakes he made. And this is a journey for him. Right now, he's in a depth of a journey of figuring himself out. I talked to a young woman And Mimi was telling me, that this is his time of reckoning, that he's thinking, where is my life headed and what have I done to get to my success. One of the things he mentioned is that he gave a party for Jada, and he thought when he gave the party for Jada that it was the best party and she would love it, and he invited so many people, but he really said that he did it for him, so it would look like such a big hurrah thing, and it was really to impress him, and it really didn't impress Jada. It was something more that Jada needed, apparently, and I think Will is figuring that out, and so part of the journey was, the first segment was to sit at the table and talk about being a father and some of the mistakes that he made. And I just don't believe that he was done. So from that segment to this segment, Red Table with Jada, I don't know who brought who to the table, but my stance was that Jada said, this is my platform. I have Red Table Talk, and it is important if I sit here and other people bring out their issues, their emotions, the things that they're going through, that I have to go to the table. I don't think she thought it well. She thought it through well before she did it. But we'll get to that. But when they went to the table, I believe that Will Smith really didn't want to go to the table, and that he was possibly, hypothetically speaking, coerced in going to the table as a wife, putting myself in Jada's shoes and feeling like, this is my platform. If you're supporting me and we're moving forward, I need you to go to the table with me. Whether I'm right or wrong, I need you to protect me. I need you to cover me like the head is supposed to cover the woman. And so I think she's the one that made the decision to go, and neither one of them were prepared at all. And sticking with Will, because I'm going to get to Jada, and this is a really deep commentary, I know, and it's well thought out because it happened just today. And so before I lay down to sleep, I want to get these thoughts out concerning Will now. Now, Will Smith has done a lot, and he is an image in front of people, and he regards that image as a clean-cut image, He's kind of like Denzel in certain movies that he would not do. Training Day was the first movie that Denzel did opposite of what he wanted to do in business of acting, and so he just flipped the script and did that. And of course, the most harmful film that he did, it became with the negative image, it became the one that got him the Grammy. And you don't see him doing films like that. That was just one, and it would behoove me. Isn't that something? How the one that had the baddest acting, and I don't mean worse like bad, but where he was a bad character, was the one he got the Grammy on, and it was something that he didn't. It was not in his field of acting. So going back to Will Smith. Will Smith has those good films, those clean-cut films. He just did Aladdin. He clowned a little bit, and people tried to say, Successful Ladies Live, of course, tried to say he was twerking, and he wasn't. He was promoting his film. That's show business. That's how you make your money. Like, we promote ourselves, they promote themselves. And I'm just amazed at some of the commentary of the people that stand up and point fingers. Because who are we to point fingers at anything that's entangled? It is just how it is. We as human beings, we get entangled in some things. And I am really thankful that some entanglements have come to the surface so we can dig in it and we can talk about it and we can see what's going on and what we need to do differently. Because and I know that most everybody that is looking at this YouTube page has had one or two entanglements. So Will Smith, I think, was not prepared. And deep down inside, he's having a reckoning. and he's trying to clear that reckoning up with his children, with his wife, with his family. And he did not want to have to clear it up in front of television, and especially in front of being hurt or having a conversation even before the segment. It might have been a hurt conversation about what was going to be said and how it was going to be said, and maybe there was no agreement there. So behind the scenes, we don't know what happened before that segment started. So Will Smith was really deeply hurt, but he is changing. He's trying to show forth a better effort. And I think, now let's switch to Jada. I think Jada is holding that a little bit over his head, because he even said to her, "How do you think I'm doing?" And she said, "You're doing great," or whatever her response is. It was a response as talking to somebody that's trying to prove to her that he's worthy of her. Wow. So, what kind of worthiness are you, Jada? You laid your life down and had two children by a famous actor, and you're a famous actor in your own right, but you stopped your life. Don't nobody get a medal for that. But you did something deeply dramatic, more dramatic than anybody, because you did something within the home. That is a hurtful thing. It wasn't outside of the home, it was within the home. There's no telling, nobody got deep like this, but it might have been in their own bedroom. And those are deep wounds. I mean, really deep wounds that have to be taken serious. And if you're not serious about Will and his heart, then the best thing you can do is let his heart go ahead and hurt and mend and move on. Now, that is just my suggestion and my opinion if she's not serious. But if she's serious about hanging on to her husband, everybody's infidelity is different, but that type of infidelity is a total drastic hurt. I've never been through that, where somebody has did something in my own home, or I've been married to, or had a boyfriend like that. But I do know that that is kind of drawing the line. So it cannot be compared with other infidelities outside of the home that were not long term, or that I don't know what's going on with Will. Does he have a long term relationship? I don't know. But it's something that he's trying to prove. And he started with the Father's Day table. Now, Jada, y'all kept saying she didn't have a entanglement. Will said it was a relationship. No. Jada was speaking truth. She spoke her truth. And just because she didn't speak it like you guys expected her to speak it, at least she got on the table and she told the truth. She gave the truth about how she felt in her actions, which was nonchalant. She gave the truth about how many years back it was and that she had moved on from it. And because she didn't have any repercussions from it, she showed that arrogance. She showed, I don't want to say arrogance because that's condemning her. She showed that she was comfortable and calm with what she was doing and what she was saying. So I don't believe she had to rehearse it. I think that she knew in her mind what she felt it was. It was an entanglement. And an entanglement, in my definition, is when you're in a position that is, let's put the entanglement where it is, in a relationship, in a marriage, or in an engagement, and you have temptation fall in your way. Jada didn't go outside of the home and seek temptation, as far as we know. But this temptation, because the enemy or the devil could not get her tempted outside of the home, or get Will tempted outside of the home, where their infidelities, if they had any, were broadcast, he sent someone in the home. So don't just think that this was a downfall and a trap for August Alcina. No, this was a specific assignment for Jada. And this assignment she failed at. And it's okay that she failed at this because she was in a place that she was wounded. She was in a place that she felt like she hadn't felt anything in a long time. And she had sat down and settled her life for raising her children and being that rock behind Will and not acting anymore. So, who was there to tell her she's beautiful while he's gone? Nobody. And I know you married women say that, oh, I wouldn't have done that. And, I can sit here and say, I would not consider that because, my son has a friend that lives with us and it's a temporary situation, but he's never approached me like that. I'm not that vulnerable, but I am not in the position that Jada was in. I've been away from my husband who's deceased in his 40s in 2016. And so I've been away from him for quite some time. So I can say I would never do something like that. So I can point that finger, but you got to put yourself in Jada's position now. Now let me turn this way because now I'm finna give you some tea. Okay, Jada was at home. Here is this handsome, talented artist that is gifted. When somebody that is special and anointed and talented gets in your space, in your arena, you know when a person is special. So the enemy knows what to send you. He knows that if you're somebody that doesn't like a short man, he's not going to send you a short man. He's going to send you a tall man. If you're somebody that likes short men, he's not going to send you a tall man. If you're somebody that likes a person that takes you out to eat and takes you to wine and dine, he's going to send you somebody that's going to wine and dine you. He doesn't have to wait for you to go somewhere. But this temptation came and plopped in her home. So she can very well call it an entanglement. And her definition was, this is something I got entangled in that was not my intention. And they have that saying, you can't help who you love. But you can if you are patterned like that, or you have practiced it, or you have not had a specific type to come in your arena. But this was a specific type that came to Jada's arena. And so, even though he was young, he was a grown ass man. We don't know how he talked to her. We don't know how he treated her. We don't know how mature he is. When he talks, he does have a mature sound. He does have a likable personality. And it could have happened to anyone. You can't call her a cougar. I say the definition of an older woman is two different things. One is a cougar that chases younger men, and the other is a panther that younger men chase them because they look so young and they look so beautiful, And when you have that problem, you can get entangled. So Jada just happened to get entangled and had nothing to fall back on that would make her feel like, no, that I don't need to do this, because she was separated. Will said he was done with her for whatever reason, and they were not together, not living together, married, living together. And if you're separated, we don't know if it was 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. They might have been separated for 2 years. But just because they didn't give you the details of their separation does not give us the right to look at the surface and say, oh, August Alcina was just a child. No, on the surface. But deep down, he is a man that has deep thoughts, deep aspirations. And just because he had a problem with Percocet or whatever the case may be, does not mean that he was not a man that could carry on a good conversation or be that person that you're attracted to, no matter what age he is. So I'm saying, and you guys may not like me for saying it, Jada, you were in an entanglement. It was something that was brought upon you that you didn't know was coming. You didn't see it coming, because if you had seen it coming, you wouldn't have done it. And when something comes upon you that you don't see coming, and that you're just out of a relationship but not quite out of a relationship, and it comes and refreshes you. I don't know about you, but I have been there in an entanglement. So I cannot say on the surface, Jada, you didn't feel nothing. Will was feeling everything. You probably didn't feel nothing because it was just that to you, just an entanglement. It wasn't a deep relationship. It was nothing you needed to rehearse or talk about. It was something that happened. Now, what do y'all have to say about that? I don't let y'all sit there and think about it. It just plopped in her lap and it happened. She got entangled and was feeling great about herself and somebody paying attention to her, and got entangled. She probably didn't see the end of it, what would happen. She probably just said, you know what, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm not going to do this. And then probably sat down and said, you know what, every time I talk to him, he's making me feel groovy. Now, I'm keeping it real with y'all. Every time I see him, he's making me feel like I'm important. He makes me feel like I can be something. And maybe after that entanglement, that's why she started Red Table Talk, because she was encouraged to do something besides be at home and be a mother and be a side to Will. Maybe that's why she got on the movie Girls Trip. So sometimes entanglements can promote you. It looks like to me that it promoted August Alcina, and he did get his healing. He didn't fall. He got better. And he's produced an album. And he's writing checks and going to the bank because he's told his story. I was in a beauty shop and I told her, just like what is the show? American Idol. They always tell the underdog story about these people before they win, like what they went through and what their family situation was and how many kids and were they homeless, because it makes their win that much more better. So they pick those people that have those type of stories. And August Alsina did what American Idol does, and he set it up and he told his story. He told about his family life. He told about his hurt and his pain from Jada. But man, when he got on the Breakfast Club, he looked fine to me. He looked like he ain't hurt no more. He looked like a grown ass man. So I didn't look deep at it, but I do know that he probably has some deep conversations and he can relate. And if that's a gift he has, you can't knock him for it, that he was able to get a woman like Jada in her home. Now, that makes me say, you know what, Jada? I got to give you some props. And you guys can say what you want. I don't care. I give you props for calling it what it is. You call a spade a spade. If it's an entanglement and you just got entangled for a moment and you didn't look for the end, you just enjoyed the ride and you didn't care what the end would be like, because once you got in it, it was all over with. Well, little do we know, those entanglements we get into towards the end, after we've enjoyed the ride, then we start having our eyes open to see this is something that can't go on. This is a young man that has a future with a wife and some kids of his own. This is something that's going to harm my children. You're not seeing straight when you get entangled. And because we are human beings, and because God made us to relate to one another, because all through the Bible he says two are better than one, and a threefold cord is not easily broken. He sent the disciples in twos. He had people to be together. He had the disciples. He had women helping Paul, and Paul had to preach about it one day. He had to say, a woman can preach just as good as a man can preach, and why can't they be following me if they're women and they're preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ? Whatever the case may be. I'm going to tell you something, and this is the God's honest truth. Um, Looking at Jada. Jada, I salute you of not spilling all your tea. Man, you're a boss to me, and I didn't see the deep depth of it, but you're a boss. You sat there on your own red table. You came forward, but you came forward the way you wanted to because of who you are. And you knew that that relationship was over. And you knew that you're going to another place. But you also had Will on his toes saying, listen, am I doing good? Because I'm supporting you. So Will has some deep thoughts in his head. And he realizes 25 years with this one woman and she's still stuck by him. He got some stuff to give. And he can take some stuff. So he brought himself to the table. Reluctantly. That's me, hypothetically speaking. And he wasn't prepared for the emotions. And he thought because the red table was the red table, that the emotions that he had would be reciprocated by Jada. Jada's not in that place yet. Well, one place Jada is in, and she can sit here and she can tell America on that red table, I had an entanglement. Just because Will made her say relationship, it wasn't a relationship, it was an entanglement. She had an entanglement with this young man, and it was sent to her as an assignment, and it didn't break her, but she turned it around and it made her a better person. And sometimes we don't realize that the bad things that happen in our life, God makes them turn around and work it for our good. And it may be something that was just traumatic to you, but what doesn't kill you, you take it and you wrap it up and you tie it up and you let it make you stronger, and you let it make you propel to your destiny to do things. Skipping to T.I. and Tiny. Tiny did the same thing somewhat. Tiny made a decision, and I'm not saying she got in an entanglement with Merriweather, but she let that Negro know, look, I can have somebody just like you, and you can miss this too. And T.I. came to a reckoning, and he's doing better. So just because a couple is married and you have them on a pedestal, that's not their fault. That is your fault, America. And we have no fingers to point at Will and Jada or August Alcina. Guess what? My hands are clean now. I just related to the deep depth of it. So I'm saying to you, once you point a finger, you have 4 pointed back at you. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why are you pointing at one? So, I want your comments. What do you think? I think Jada expressed her feelings, said what she was going to say, and she left it as it was. And just because she didn't get deep and cry in front of y'all or act real remorseful, doesn't mean she hasn't been remorseful. If a time has passed and they haven't dealt with that in a long time, then she got entangled and she got untangled. So, I just wanted to say that, you know what, I really enjoyed my conversation today in the beauty shop because it made me really think. And what we really need to do, guys, is we need to stop pointing fingers. Please continue to watch. I'm hoping that that's the last segment. But if you guys got some comments, I know you're going to have some crazy comments, but you see I walked through this with you, and I took my time, and I didn't get all hyped, and I tried to show you the depth of it. Jada, kudos to you for getting on the table and being a boss and saying what you wanted to say and out of there. You didn't waste no time. You got in there. You said, hey, I was in an entanglement. Because you said it again, even though Will made it, you say relationship. Later on you said, and then I got in the entanglement. You want to let people know, no, wait a minute. I'm not letting nobody put no words in my mouth. It was an entanglement. I got entangled. I got caught up because I was at home. And I wasn't prepared for that. And I wasn't in no prayer closet. And I just was by myself. And I got entangled. Well, sure. My last segment, I said Jaden and Willow. We got to think about how they're affected. But you know what? They may have even known about it because they were separated, but they ain't going to tell you everything. And they may have, after all them years, they had to have told them, we're seeing each other. Especially if she was entangled deep and she did not want to let go for a long time, whatever the time was. But guess what? The main thing is, Jada, you got untangled. I'm signing out, guys. It is late. I got to go to bed. But I will see you guys soon. While I was getting that word, I got me a nice little do with that conversation I was having. It was some good conversation. So, guys, ring the bell, ring the bell, ring the bell, and subscribe to my channel. Adios. I'm dropping the mic.